the pinch of the reduced number of contact tracers rehired by the Interior Department. Senator Coco Pimentel stirs public backlash again after the DOJ junked a quarantine breach complaint against him. An Indian pharmaceutical company is the most recent applicant for an emergency use authorization in the country for its COVID vaccine. And U.S. President Joe Biden rolls up his sleeves on his first day at the Oval Office. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. The DOH wants to test inbound travelers on the 5th day from their dates of arrival to ensure more accurate COVID results. Greg Gregorio is reporting to us live from Mandaluyong for the details. Hi, Greg. Good afternoon. What prompted the DOH to make this recommendation?
Sean, the DOH is recommending to the IATF the conduct of second RT-PCR tests on all inbound travelers in the country apart from their initial swab upon arrival. This is after another co-passenger of the country's first UK variant case tested positive for COVID-19, bringing the total to 14 close contacts. 4 of them are co-passengers who had initial negative RT-PCR results upon arrival, including the index case's girlfriend. With this, the DOH now wants a second swab test on the 5th day of the passenger's arrival. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere had earlier noted the possibility that a patient is in a pre-symptomatic condition when the specimen yielded a negative result. But with the 5th day test, Vergere says a more accurate result can be acquired. Meanwhile, the agency is awaiting results of the gene sequencing conducted on 6 out of the 14 positive close contacts to determine if they have the more contagious new variant of the virus. 8 passengers who tested positive upon arrival have been reswabbed to check if their specimens have high viral loads enough to be subjected to gene sequencing. Let's hear what Yusek Vergere had to say about the matter.
We have to repeat the testing on the 5th day after they have arrived before we release them to LGUs. So, sa ganitong paraan, maaari po nating makita and appropriate po yung timing ng testing, and we can be more certain kung talagang negatibo o positibo itong pasyente na ating itinest.
Sean, the DOH has presented this proposal to the IATF's Technical Working Group, and pending approval on the next IATF meeting. The DOH is also calling on all LGUs to ensure that all arriving passengers would still finish 14-day quarantine even after they would yield negative result on the second swab test. Sean?
All right, Greg, one question. This might be a little bit out of the purview of the Department of Health, but who will pick up the tab for that second swab?
Sean, there are no other informations yet as to the implementation of this second swab because, as we have said, this is still pending approval of the IATF. Sean?
Yes, I suppose that's a question for the IATF to answer. Thank you so much, Greg. Greg Gregorio of News 5 reporting to us live from Mandaluyong. And LGUs are now scrambling to monitor COVID-19 cases due to the reduced number of contact tracers. The national government says they need to make adjustments due to a budget cut. JC Cosico with the report.
Uncooperative contacts of COVID-19 patients are just one of the problems being faced by the Quezon City local government.
Hindi po siya sumasagot, sir.
Contact tracers say some even fill out wrong information in health declaration forms, while others deny pertinent details.
Pag tinawagan po namin, hindi po kami yun, hindi po kami yung tinatawagan nyo. Or kausapin nyo na lang po yung nag-interview sa akin sa ospital.
But what makes contact tracing more challenging in the city is the reduced number of contact tracers. Quezon City's contact tracers are now down to 500 after the contracts of some 1,200 DILG hired tracers ended last year.
Ngayon na-limit lang tayo sa first generation close contact. Tumaas tayo ng 1:230 before yung December, November, December. And then ngayon nasa 1:10 tayo, no? So malaki yung difference.
The good thing is that the LGU has recently launched the QC Pass contact tracing app that helps them do the tracing for now. Over in Marikina City, contracts of the 70% of DILG hired tracers were also terminated.
Napaka-crucial yan. Kung hindi mo matrace yun, potential, spreader. Ang positivity rate namin, nakita namin tumaas din dahil nga yung contact tracing natin na apektuhan
The city government had no choice but to get contact tracers from other departments. Valenzuela City addressed the problem by letting barangay health workers assume the job.
Magdudual function yung mga barangay health workers natin. Meron na silang duty sa barangay health center. Ngayon, meron pa silang added surveillance and validation responsibilities.
Pateros also lost over 100 contact tracers, but its effect has yet to be seen since their active cases remain low.
So dapat siguro talaga nandiyan palagi yan. Especially sabi mo nga nandiyan yung pantanong bagong variant yung B117, di ba? So kailangan nakahanda yan kaysa naman magkumuhog pa tayo pag dumating na yung problema.
Recall that the Interior Department has decided to rehire only 15,000 out of the 50,000 contact tracers employed last year. Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya explained that a 5 million peso budget for the program is now down to only 1.9 billion pesos.
Mas gugustuhin namin na yung i-rehire namin, mas mahaba ang kontrata. Kasi nung December, last year, nung tayo ay nag-hire nung last year, 3 months lang yon. Ngayon, dito sa mga priority areas namin, we decided na 6 months na lang.
For now, Malaya can only assure the LGUs that the deployment will be based on the number of cases in an area. The Health Department, for its part, has reminded local executives to do some adjustments in the meantime.
So kapag maikli na yung kumot, dapat namamaluktot na tayo. Ganun naman po tayo lagi dito sa ating ginagawang mga sistema.
For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
And a lawyer slammed the DOJ for dismissing the quarantine breach complaint against Senator Coco Pimentel over lack of probable cause. Attorney Rico Quicho, the complainant in the case, told One News that the senator clearly violated quarantine protocols back in March. Pimentel drew flack for accompanying his pregnant wife to the Makati Medical Center despite being a suspected COVID patient. The senator later announced that he had tested positive for COVID-19. Quicho said the dismissal will set a precedent for violators to get away with future breaches of protocol. In its decision, the DOJ said Pimentel is not a public health official and therefore does not need to report his positive result.
This decision would really show that the application of laws in our country are different. I hope that the Department of Justice find it in their heart of hearts that they have to dispense justice and they have to revisit and they have to ensure that a crime that has been committed should be punished. And Senator Coco Pimentel should face the music and he should pay.
We'll have more stories after this quick break. Keep it here on One News. You are still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. met with some senators on Wednesday to clarify his recent remarks on vaccine procurement issues. Senator Ping Lacson says that Galvez apologized and was able to shed light on several issues raised by senators on the inoculation plan. Chief of those concerns is overpricing, which, according to Senate President Tito Soto, will not happen as assured to him by Galvez. The Senate probe will continue on Friday. And here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. The Health Department logged almost 1,800 new COVID-19 cases today. Of the 507,700 total confirmed cases, more than 30,000 are still active. 74 patients died from the disease today, bringing the total number of fatalities to more than 10,100. Meanwhile, more than 467,000 COVID-19 patients have recovered, with 500 additional recoveries in the past 24 hours. And Indian firm Bharat Biotech is the fifth drug maker to apply for emergency use authorization in the Philippines for its Covaxin jabs. The vaccine is backed by the Indian Council of Medical Research and has a standard cold chain temperature of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, ideal for tropical countries like the Philippines. The FDA says that pre-evaluation of Covaxin is underway. The Biden administration says that China's move to sanction Trump officials is unproductive and cynical. After Biden's inauguration, China announced sanctions against former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and 27 other top Trump officials. China's foreign ministry accused them of planning, promoting, and executing moves that interfered with Beijing's internal affairs. And this led Beijing to ban the former officials and their immediate family members from entering China. The Chinese government also restricted companies associated with Trump and his officials from doing business in the Middle Kingdom. Biden's National Security Council spokeswoman Emily Horn described the move as an attempt to play partisan divides. Meanwhile, Filipino Americans in the United States weigh in on the impact on the Biden administration for the Philippines. In an interview with One News, former political science professor Jan R.G. Tolentino said that Biden's immigration policies will benefit 1 million of undocumented Filipinos in the U.S.
Joe Biden's strategy will build a bridge towards these 11 million people. So I think it's laudable. Mahirap gawin because of the politics now in the United States. And but at least there's an effort from the part of Joe Biden.
Former Filipino-American Press Club President Ricky Rillera told the chiefs that President Biden will not approach the Scarborough Shoal issue aggressively. Rillera says that the U.S. can only deploy freedom of navigation activities in the contested waters. And on the matter of human rights, senior researcher of U.S. think tank More in Common, Noel Malvar, said that the Biden administration is expected to be more vocal on these violations. Joe Biden wasted no time as he signed multiple executive orders on his first day at the Oval Office. Josh Wingrove talks more about this on Bloomberg Daybreak Asia.
COVID is the one that he wanted to highlight. This is the number one priority for this administration. Just a week or two ago, they were talking about dual priorities or, three-headed priorities. And now it's just COVID, which gives you a sense of how bad things are getting here with the pandemic in the U.S. So he's requiring wearing masks on federal property, on federal lands, on cross-border travel. This is sort of his turf. He's essentially begging Americans to wear one for at least 100 days everywhere else. So that is a big one. It's also taking some steps to extend freezes on student loan repayments, deferrals on foreclosures and evictions, this kind of thing, rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. That, of course, includes rescinding a pretty controversial long-running pipeline permit on the Keystone XL pipeline. So he's doing all these things, but we are sort of seeing the pomp and circumstance of the day already give way a little bit to what at least has been the reality and Republicans pushing back. A lot of what Biden wants to do depends on Congress. It's very unclear right now how much appetite there is in Congress for his brand of bipartisanship.
You mentioned already that Republicans had been pushing back a little bit when it came to that U.S. stimulus package. So I do wonder how long will a honeymoon period last with Joe Biden, if there is a honeymoon period?
Yeah, I think the minutes are ticking away on it as we speak. You know, that COVID package, he wants something within days or weeks. Republicans historically so far in these talks have moved at the pace of weeks or months. You know, there's a lot of what they would see, what Republicans would see as poison pills. Biden's 1.9 trillion package is an opening offer by their own admission, not really, a ram it through kind of situation. So we'll see. A lot hangs in the balance, in particular funding for testing, funding for vaccines. We had another story today. Biden's advisors are growing increasingly worried. This pandemic is worse than they thought, and worse yet than they thought even before that. The cases have more than doubled, the deaths have more than doubled daily since he won this election. He wanted to do a bunch of stuff in his first 100 days, but it looks like COVID is going to be the only thing on his agenda a lot of the time.
For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.